Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. Today is Friday, and on Fridays I do my cover challenge. And what I do with the cover challenge is I basically ask you to look through your comic books and find the best covers that you can find for a certain theme. Last week's theme were villains, and what I was looking for was really a bit of a challenge, and then that's why it's called the Friday Challenge. Last week it was villains and their first appearances on the cover. And bonus points if you could get villains from one particular series. I did all Spider-Man related ones. I saw Black Box Silver and Bronze. He did all Daredevil ones, and that was great. It's a really great way to see like a series of comics and also to see first appearances as well. So it was pretty fun. I enjoyed some of the entries from the various channels that participated, and I asked at the end of my video which of the covers that I showed that you, the viewer, liked the most. And the one that everyone chose, 40% of the votes, was for this one. Amazing Spider-Man number 14, the first appearance of the Green Goblin. So I think this was an excellent choice because I like the Green Goblin. He's one of my favorite, and I think he's kind of the villain for Spider-Man. So the Green Goblin, that was a good choice. Now, this week, I kind of want to have the theme fit the day that it is when I'm, this is going out on November 11th, which is Remembrance Day. So to be fitting with Remembrance Day theme, I wanted to do war covers. So this is going to be all cool war covers. You can pick whatever war you like, but it's war covers. And I'll show you some examples from my collection. This is actually number 10 on my list, and it's kind of lower on the list mainly because it is not a real war. And I'll show you what I mean by that. It is like what if situation. So this is Tomorrow is the name of the book, and it's America under communism. So it's kind of like that warlike situation where America, the flag is burning. This is kind of like an American. It was a publication that was put out for free. They actually would give it out as a pamphlet and try to discourage people from embracing communist ideas. And it was a really cool comic. And it has a cool cover, like a war cover where everyone's fighting. Yeah, you have like all these different tensions that are happening. And on the back of it, which makes it extra cool, is 10 Commandments of Citizenship, which is kind of like these rules that if you follow, you can become a better citizen and protect yourself from communism. So I just think it's a great comic, great cover as well with the flames and the burning flag and the warlike elements to it. Okay, so that's my first book on my list. Next one is kind of an interesting one. I picked it because whenever I think of war, I actually think of this series. And rightly or wrongly so, actually. But this is the one I always think of, G.I. Joe. I just think, whenever I think of war, I think of like toy soldiers. I think of G.I. Joe, and it just makes me think about war. And this is a great cover where they're all going into action. And they have the tank and they're all shooting their guns. They're all, like, literally all shooting their guns. And you got explosions, and it's just a great war cover in my mind. And it's a great war series in my mind. Like, so I just think of that true American kind of ultra patriotic kind of like attitude in G.I. Joe. It's like the ultimate toy soldier kind of experience. And it's a great back of the cover too. It's even got a tank on the back. So I just think that's really, really awesome. So this is G.I. Joe number 1. And it's number 9 on my list. The next one on my list is another series that had really great war covers. A lot of these issues came out during the Second World War. And so it's a nice golden age book. And it's Ranger Comics. Now, it kind of has another tank, which is kind of cool. And, a lot of the comics that came out during the Second World War were propaganda related. Now, I don't imagine this ever actually happened during the Second World War where a girl was tied to a tank, but it's kind of like that, propaganda thing where you got the not Japanese soldier in the tank, and then you got the American coming to rescue the girl and fight for the American way. So I just really like this cover. I think it's a cool cover. And if I can get like a good girl bondage cover in any theme, I will take that opportunity. So this is Ranger Comics number 15. So just a kind of a cool comic. Next on my list is, this one is actually was mentioned in Pop, which is a Parade of Pleasure. And it is from Marvel or Atlas at the time. And it's just a really cool, like really shows like the real war situation, like that kind of, you got to see it. You'll see what I mean. It's just like, this guy, and he's just like shooting bullets, like, bullets are flying everywhere, and he's got the patch on his arm. He's like mangled, and he's just like, and you see airplanes burning up, and, it's just like, just a great action-y kind of war cover. And it's just, to me, it's like so many things going on. You even have like up here, there's a little guy coming down with a, with a, with a, this little war dude, soldier. And I just think it's a really great cover. So this is Combat number 1, or number 10. Sorry, number 10. This is a great one. And next, as I said, a lot of these war covers during the Second World War were propaganda. Like they really try to promote the idea that the enemy that they were going up against was evil. Okay, and this is really kind of taking that to new heights, where you got this woman in bondage. Again, I love my women in bondage. And you got these Nazi soldiers wearing hooded figures, like almost like a executioner with the Nazi symbol. And this one is just such a great war cover. You got you can tell that it's Second World War by the style of helmets that they're wearing, the uniforms that they're wearing, the American soldiers. And there's in the background, this is why it's such a cool cover, is you got an explosion and literally limbs are falling off the guys. They're getting blown up. It's just such a crazy cover. This is Fight Comics number 32. And it's a classic cover. So, really great one. Now, number 5 on my list, gotta make sure, is another classic cover from Fight Comics. And this one kind of reminds me of Vietnam, but it's actually Second World War, which is kind of interesting. It looks like Vietnam. It really reminds me of Vietnam because it's like guys going through the jungle. And I always think of that Vietnam situation where the guys are going through the jungle and they get ambushed. And in this case, it's Americans fighting the Japanese. You can tell the Japanese because they'll have like this rising sun patch, and obviously the look of them. But this is one of a classic cover because it is a decapitation cover. Like this guy's head literally gets chopped off. So a bit of a crazy cover. It really shows the horrors of war. And this is Fight Comics number 31, and it's just a really great cover. Just a really crazy cover, actually. Okay, so next is they really want to encourage all people within the American, United States to really get behind the war effort. And one of the things that they did was actually launch particular comics to promote that war activism. And one of the comics they created was Boy Commandos. And this is Boy Commandos number 1. And it has actually boys dressed up like soldiers and participating as soldiers. And you have all these planes in the background. It's just sort of, and the flames. It's just a really great cover. that really kind of encapsulates that, getting that patriotic spirit going, getting the war effort spirit going, and really, call to arms kind of idea. This actually is kind of a cool book in a bunch of reasons. Not only is it Boy Commandos #1, but it also is the first appearance of Liberty Bell. So, kind of a cool comic. And also, I think there's somebody else that makes a first appearance in this. Liberty Bell. No, just Liberty Bell. This was done by, what's his name? Jack Kirby and Joe Simon did the cover for this, which is kind of cool. So that's Boy Commandos #1. And I do like my war propaganda covers, and I do like ones that promote other elements of war. And this one has a little bit of everything. And I'll show you some of the cool things about this one. So this is a war propaganda cover. So this is Startling Comics. It's an Alex Schomburg cover. And this is number 34, Startling Comics number 34. And what you have is you got the sort of kind of racist depictions of the Japanese, like where they have the buck teeth, that typical over-exaggerated look to the Japanese to make them look as different from Americans and just non-appealing as possible, because you want to make them look evil. You want to make them look bad because they are the enemy. And that was part of the whole propaganda with war. Not only are they, kind of funny looking, but they also have these torture devices down here. Hot pokers. Wortham would be happy to see that. It's just like that total propaganda thing about the types of torture that they would do and stuff like that. And they have the samurai sword as well, And the other cool thing is you got this character here fighting Yank, which is sort of symbolic of that American patriotism. So one other cool thing about this book in particular is up here, you can actually see that it says buy war bonds and war stamps. So kind of a cool book overall for all those reasons. So this is Startling Comics number 34. And second on my list, another Alex Schomburg, and this is one of his last covers. I believe it's actually his last cover. And it's a really great book, under the radar for most people. Most people don't even realize that this book is Alex Schomburg's last comic cover. But it is one that has not just his cover, but has so many great artists involved. Roy Thomas, Frank Robbins, Jack Springer, Don Rico, and Lee Elias. So some really great artists and creators involved. So this is The Invaders Annual #1. And this is just a really great, you got all the American superheroes versus the Nazis in Paris. And they're kind of liberating Paris from the Nazis. So it's kind of cool cover. You got, just a really great, another tank cover, almost like a bit of a sub-theme here with all the tanks. But yeah, this is just a really great cover. The Invaders Annual #1, Alex Schomburg cover. It's a really great one. Okay, last but not least, and if you know me, you should almost be able to predict this. This is one of my favorite covers of all time. It's one of my favorite war covers of all time. Well, it is my favorite war cover. It is also one of my favorite books in my collection. So this one is kind of pretty obvious if you know me. Let's take it as a classic. Let's see if you can guess what it is. Okay, so it is Wonder Woman #1. This is just, to me, a classic cover. And a classic moment in time almost. Like when you watch the Wonder Woman movie, and there's that scene where she goes into no man's land, where during the First World War they're sort of you have the Allies versus the Axis, and they're just basically they're just standing a few hundred maybe a few miles between each other. Like they're really close, and they're just in these lines, and they're just sitting there for like years. And in the movie, she kind of goes across that no man's land and basically, goes into the trenches where the Germans are. And to me, that's a classic scene in the movie, but it's just such a great heroic scene because, in the First World War, one of the cool parts of history and kind of brutal parts of history is every so often what they would do is they would have like a thing where they would rally the troops and have them charge out into no man's land, and they would just get gunned down. And there'd be losses of thousands of people. And then they'd have to retreat back into their trenches, and, the rinse and repeat. They would just do that every so often and really maybe gain a few inches. It was really messed up. And this kind of captures that kind of, that charge into like literal death almost. You got the machine guns at the bottom, and you got Wonder Woman being heroic, basically, going in and leading the charge against the Germans. So just a really great cover, in my opinion. This is Wonder Woman #1. I just love this cover. I think it's great. And yeah, so that is my #1 choice for war covers. And if you want to show your war covers and some of your favorites from your collection, well, all you have to do is participate, is to make a video of your own, put it up on your channel. You can post a comment in the comments below with a link to your video, and use the hashtag Friday Comic Challenge and war cover. Those two hashtags, and war covers, I should say. And if you use those two hashtags, other people that are kind of following this Friday challenge can see your video and check it out. So again, thanks for watching, and I hope you participate in this cover challenge, and bye for now.